So, what does it really mean to be a son? It's a question that goes way beyond just a family tree or a title. It really gets to the heart of who we are, our identity, our purpose. And to even begin to unpack it, well, we have to start with a question for you. Just take a second and think about this. Whose son are you? I mean, who or what is the real source of your identity, of your thoughts, your words? Because believe me, the answer to that question changes absolutely everything. You know, true sonship isn't proven by a list of things you do. It's proven by who you are. The real proof, the undeniable evidence, is in the DNA. It's about having the Father's very nature, his essence, running through your veins and operating within you. It's an inside job, not some kind of external performance. To get our heads around this, we've got to look at the original Son. He left behind what you could call a secret code, a divine puzzle, really, and it's hidden right in his own words. And if we can unlock it, we'll find the entire blueprint for sonship. This code is tucked away in some of Jesus's most kind of confusing statements. I mean, think about it. Here's the Son of God, and he says things over and over like, I can do nothing of myself, or I don't speak on my own authority. Now hold on. How could the single most powerful being to ever walk the planet claim he does nothing on his own? It sounds like a paradox, right? But here's the twist. This was not a confession of weakness. Not at all. It was actually a declaration of perfect, absolute union. It meant his thoughts, his will, his words, they were all a perfect, seamless echo of the Father. There was zero self-interference, no static on the line. He was quite literally the Father's voice with skin on. Okay, but for every truth, there's always a counterfeit. There is an opposing system, a counterfeit gospel designed to trap us in the total opposite state of being. It's an ideology of blindness, and it's built on the illusion of self. So what you're looking at here are basically the two competing operating systems for humanity. On the one hand, you've got the serpent's ideology. It's based entirely on our five senses, right? What feels good, what looks good, and what makes me feel important. But on the other side, you have Christ's victory, and it's a total and complete rejection of that system. Every single time, he chose the unseen word of God over the world he could see and touch. Now, this counterfeit system, it creates its own reality. It's a state you could honestly call hell. But what if our whole pop culture image of hell, fire and brimstone, is completely wrong? What if hell isn't a place you go to, but a state you're already in? This is where it gets really interesting. The original Greek word for hell, Hades, gives us a massive clue. If you break it down, it literally means aides, or not seeing. So this tells us that hell isn't primarily a place of fire. It's a state of deep spiritual blindness. It's the inability to see or recognize God. It's the ultimate prison of the self. So, if we're trapped in this state of blindness, how in the world do we get out? Well, the answer is pretty radical. It takes nothing less than a complete transformation at the deepest level imaginable. It requires a divine DNA swap. And Jesus gave us the way out with this really shocking statement. But he wasn't talking about some polite religious ritual. He was describing a total fusion. The word he used for eats here in the original Greek is trogo. It means to gnaw on something to chew it. This is about completely consuming and assimilating his very being into ours. Let's break down what that swap actually looks like. Eating his flesh means we are literally replacing our old operating system, that death mindset driven by the senses, with his life mindset, which is based on pure truth. And drinking his blood, that means reconnecting our life source, which was severed from God, with a new line, one built on the true knowledge of God. It's a total system overhaul. Now here's the amazing part. This whole internal journey of transformation, it isn't just some random abstract idea. It was actually mapped out thousands of years ago in a physical blueprint, the tabernacle in the wilderness. The layout of the tabernacle is a perfect map of our salvation. Think about it. We start out in the outer court. That's the world. Then we get invited into the holy place, where we meet Jesus as the bread of life and the light of the world. And then, through the tearing of the veil, his own body, we finally get access to the Holy of Holies, and that represents perfect face-to-face union with the Father. And get this exact same journey is hidden inside the very first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph. The original picture for the letter was an ox, which represents our strong, wild, untamed self. Then that ox is yoked to learn. And once that learning is complete, the letter also takes on the meaning of 1,000, a number that represents divine fullness and completion. It's the whole journey, right there in one letter, from a wild beast to a divine being. So, this brings us to the final destination. After this incredible journey of transformation, how is true sonship actually proven? What's the final test? Well, it all comes down to one thing: what comes out of your mouth. You know the Greek word for confession? It's homologio, and it literally means to say the same thing. And that is the ultimate proof of sonship. It's that moment when your own thoughts, your own opinions, have been so completely overwritten by God's truth that when you speak, you are simply saying the same thing as the Father. You've become his perfect echo. And when you see this, it totally redefines religious acts, like the tithe. The true tithe was never about giving 10% of your money. It's about you becoming the 10, the number of completion, a whole and perfected being, and then offering your entire transformed self back to God as the true first fruits. So, when the prophet Malachi asks that famous question, "Will a man rob God?" he wasn't talking about people holding back their money. The original Hebrew actually says rob Elohim. The great theft wasn't about cash, it was about robbing humanity of its potential to become a dwelling place for Elohim. It was about stealing our chance to become sons. So in the end, the entire spiritual conflict, this whole epic story, it all boils down to this: a war between two seeds. You have the serpent's seed of self-centered thought, and you have God's seed of divine truth. And that war is fought, and it is won in the words that come out of your mouth. Which brings us right back to where we started, but maybe with a bit more clarity. When you speak, what are you proving? Are your words coming from the serpent's ideology, what you can see, what you can feel, what you can get for yourself? Or do they flow from a much deeper place, from the very DNA of the Father? Whose seed do your lips prove?